This is a strategic analysis project regarding two apparel companies, Levi's and Gap. The aim of the presentation is to introduce, analyze, and compare two apparel companies in a form of strategic analysis, to provide organizational insight of the companies and future recommendations. Gap is one of the world's most iconic apparel and accessories brands. Founded in San Francisco in 1969, Gap's collections were designed to build the foundation of modern wardrobes. Company stores operate in the United States, Canada, United Kingdom, France, Ireland, Japan, Italy, China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. Gap's subsidiaries are Banana Republic, Purple Line, Athleta, and Old Navy. Levi's invented the blue jeans 140 years ago. Founded in 1853, headquarters in San Francisco, the company sells its product under the Levi's Dockers, signature by Levi Strauss & Co. and Denizens brands. Levi's sells its product in approximately 110 countries through a network of chain retailers, department stores, and online sites. Missions comparison. Gap's missions are to remain being a brand builder, create emotional connection with customers around the world through inspiring product design, unique stores experience, and compelling marketing. Its case values are integrity, respect, open-minded, quality, and balance. Levi's missions are sustain responsible commercial success as a global marketing company, balancing goals of superior profitability and return on investment, leadership market position and superior product and services, conduct business ethically and demonstrate leadership, provide safe and productive work environment characterized by fair treatment. Its case values are empathy, originality, and integrity. Visions comparisons. Gap vision is to make it easier for consumers to express personal styles throughout life. Levi's vision is being the embodiment of energy and events of our times, inspiring people with the pioneering spirits.
Comparing financially Gap and Levi Strauss companies, there is a significant difference in terms of revenues, profits, and assets. Looking at Gap since 2010 until 2014, sales revenue was increasing at the rate of 3% average, with slight drop of -1% in 2011. However, Gap experienced soaring sales year after with a total of 8%. In comparison with Levi Strauss, the highest growth in 2011 of 8% and highest decrease of -3% year after. Overall, Gap outweighed Levi Strauss dramatically with a total of 54 million over 5 year-to-date sales revenue analysis. Considering the net profit analysis, since 2010 until 2014, Gap has not made significant changes, resulting in a $58,000 difference over 5 years' time. However, weakest financial year for company was in 2011, resulting in 31% decline of net profit. Same year, Levi Strauss net profit shrunk by -12%. Reason behind is due to global cotton price inflation, increasing cost of goods sold, which minimized profit margins, and the debt crisis in Europe, which increased stock market volatility globally. Yet Gap sharply increased their net profits in 2012 with 36% climb and 5% margin. Overall, Gap Inc. 5 year time net profit was rising at 4% average. Highest performance of Levi Strauss were in 12 and 13, in which the net profit increased by 59%. Greatest losses were year after, with 54% decline. Average net profit of the company of 5 years at time indicated 0% growth. Comparing both companies, Gap and Levi's variance of 5 year time is over $108,000. Total assets of Gap Inc. since 2010 until 2014 increased by overall of $625,000, whilst Levi Strauss has decreased by -$211,000. Highest growth for Gap was in 2011 and 2013, with total assets experiencing a 5% growth and greatest decline in 2014, representing -3%. Overall 5 year time growth of total assets was 2%. Levi's has increased in 2011 their assets by 5% respectively. Afterwards, until 2014, it was experiencing decline of -3, -1, and -8% of each following years, with overall total assets growth for 5 and 2%. Analysis of working capital exhibits that Gap increased their working capital by $252,000 over 5 years' time, with average annual growth of 4%. Meanwhile, Levi's working capital has decreased by -$114,000, with average annual decline of -3%. Overall comparison, whilst Gap managed to increase the working capital over the years, Levi's working capital will constantly decrease.
Levi's and Gap, PESTEL. In the political sector, the political crisis and uncertainty of new operation location within Asian regions, such as trade restrictions, increased tariffs and quotas, embargoes, safeguards, and custom restrictions, can be against these apparel items. Third-party distribution and changes in diplomatic and trade relationship may affect their projects, supply, and sales. While there is stable domestic environment in the US and the UK, the US president election could have an impact on future taxations, tariff, and regulations. Economical. Changes in global economic conditions and consumer spending patterns, as well as fluctuations can have an impact on the financial reports of the companies. A decrease of cotton price can lower production cost, but global economic crisis context impact on demand decreasing and customers are looking for greater value for money. There's also hyper competitiveness, which means that there could be a rivalry in prices, communication, and innovation. Sociocultural uncertainty about unsuccessfulness in determining apparel trend and changing consumer preferences. Two companies growing e-commerce results in greater accessibility. This means that they have higher discounts and competitive pricing strategy. Technological. For the two companies GAP and Levi's, their investment in digital capabilities, such as IT systems, have resulted in attracting higher customer traffic. Environmental. For GAP and Levi's, the highly competitive nature of the industry in the US and internationally could have an effect on the two companies' outcome. Another important issue to mention in the environmental part is the awareness of a growing rising interest in biodegradable clothes. For GAP and Levi's, the legal problems could be that China is becoming less attractive for global corporations due to increasing wages. This means that the company has to pay more money to produce in China and in developing countries, such as India and Indonesia. Another legal issue could be changes in legislation and regulations regarding barriers to trade.
According to the strategic grouping analysis, divided the sides between price and range, whereas Armani jeans being the highest priced best range, Levi's being almost mid-priced and just more than half the size as the range. However, Gap has a very extensive range, but lower than half. And we have selected all over 15 different companies to contrast against Gap and Levi's. According to Porter's 5 Forces, the existing rivalry between Gap and Levi's is high. Gap has numerous core businesses which serve different customer bases, and their stores offer an extensive selection of classical styled options. On the contrary of Levi's, there is a constant risk of consumers changing to alternate brands. In terms of entry and exit into the market, it's the largest cost barrier to enter into the apparel industry, and it's been historically high. However, the economies of scale will anti-benefit, and as do already existing firms. In terms of the risk, it's medium-high to enter the market. However, Levi's production volume is high already. Cost for them is cheaper than the new entrants. Overall, it's less. The buyer power of Gap is the leverage of able to buy separate brands to buy into significant quantities, i.e. they have a big brand portfolio and they can save money by ordering all in one go through economies of scale. In terms of Levi's, they sell clothes globally as well, but their vendors potentially would want to supply Levi's as the economies of scale is larger than any other brand umbrella. When it comes to substitutes, Gap's highest advantage is that it services both higher end and lower end categories of consumers, which gives them an advantage. However, high risk for Levi's produces clothing that is currently in trend, and there are a number of competitors who effectively substitute parallel to Levi's. Supplier Bauer for Gap purchases private label merchandise from approximately 600 vendors, no private label merchandise. Levi's can actually switch between manufacturers easy because they have vendors in Central America, Cambodia, China, and Vietnam.
Value chain analysis. According to Johnson 2013, the value chain describes the categories of activities within an organization which together create a product or service. Value chain analysis exhibits similarities and differences between the companies. Regarding firm infrastructure, both Levi's and Gap has a hierarchical leadership structure. Levi's financial operations offer private investors. Gap split in investors and shareholders. Both companies are actively engaged in corporate social responsibility by many means. Regarding HR management, Levi's employs 15,000 employees, Gap 141,000. In technology development, Levi's outweighs Gap in innovative projects, as such Project Jaguar Smart Way Technology. Procurement. Both companies adopt lower cost service delivery models and source locations of raw materials by assessing various conditions of countries. Regarding inbound logistics, principal fabric for both companies is cotton. Levi's use innovative waterless process to conserve 96% of water and finishing production operations. Both companies maintain a large part of the inventory in distribution centers. Levi's win in innovation again with sustainable processes, focuses on women commuter line. Outbound logistics, both companies possesses franchise agreement for distribution channels. Levi's in USA primarily through chain retailers and department stores. International department stores, franchise, brand dedicated stores. Gap globally through department stores and subsidiaries. Marketing and sales, both companies focuses on growing e-commerce demand. Gap has great online shopping market share. Levi's outweighs Gap in campaigns and providing clothing to sport teams. Service. Levi's ensures quality collection program for reducing wastage of clothes, while Gap offers click and collect service. Both companies provide money return policies.
The SWOT is divided into strengths and weaknesses internal to the organization and opportunities and threats external to the organization. As for the strengths for Levi's, they're the inventors of the blue jeans. They have a strong brand name developed throughout many years of operation. They have a strong innovation department as well, and plenty of manufacturing plants distributed in the US and abroad. They have a high brand quality. As for Gap, they have a strong brand recognition and value for money approach, and they're an accessible brand at a moderate price. They also have a strong financial position. With what regards to weaknesses for Levi's, they are overpriced in the eyes of the consumers, and they're slow at adapting to consumer trends. They also have a weak financial position. As for Gap, they have an excessive variety of products, which may result in losing customers. They have a decreased return on asset and equity. As for the opportunities, there is a growing market of casual clothing, especially for kids all around the world, along with the fashion globalization factor, in which Western clothes is now fashionable all around the world. Changes in trade regulations, such as lower tax and tariffs, and increased importance of environmental issues and codes of conduct, as environmental awareness has grown exponentially in the last decade. There's also many opportunities for technological development, as we have seen the biodegradable clothing developed by Gap. As for the threats, there is a political uncertainty and governmental intervention of business operation in Asia, which represent a big part of the revenue for both companies, growing wages all around the globe, and a negative change in global economy through financial rate fluctuation.
Recommendations for the both companies will be increased spending on research and development, finding alternative textiles of good production, more environmental friendly, concentrating on establishing strong competitive and more user-friendly e-commerce websites, invest in more efficient replenishment of stock control, first in, first out. For recommendations for Gap will be keep competitive advantage of being a leader in accessories and apparel industry by maintaining a positive brand image, competitive pricing strategy, and ensuring high quality. Focus on innovative projects, focus on corporate social responsibility objectives, enhance their image of the social responsible company. For Levi's, will be find alternatives to reduce production costs, hence reduce the price of the product. There is adaptation to rapidly changing consumer fashion trends, increase financial position by making changes in management, production, and supply chain.